Hello, today I'm going to be talking about the Great Depression, more specifically, who became rich during that time period and how they did it. For those of you who don't know what was the Great Depression, it was an economic crisis and period of low business activity in the US and the rest of the world. The Great Depression started in 1929 and kept going all the way through the 1930s. One of the biggest reasons why the Great Depression occurred was the stock market crash. A stock market crash is a sudden dramatic decline of a stock price across a significant cross section of a stock market. Basically, is when a stock loses its value in a short amount of time, causing a huge loss of money. Remember today as Black Tuesday, the stock market crash of October 29, 1929 was not the only cause of the Great Depression and was also not the first crash of that same month. The market, which had its peak earlier that summer, had begun to decline in September. As we can see in this graph, starting the year of 1929, the stock values were very high, and during the time period that represents the Great Depression, they were extremely low. Another factor that led to the Great Depression was banks going bankrupt, which was an effect of the stock market crash. Nearly 700 banks failed in following months of the same year, and more than 3,000 collapsed in 1930. Insurance was not guaranteed, so when the banks failed, people lost all their money. Some people panicked, causing bank runs as people withdrew all their money, forcing more banks to close. By the end of the decade, more than 9,000 banks had failed. As the Great Depression kept going, the government was forced to act. In an attempt to protect U.S. industry from overseas competitors, Congress passed the Tariff Act of 1930. The measure imposed near record tax rates on a wide range of imported goods. As a result, world trade fell by two-thirds between 1929 and 1934. That was also a major factor that not led to but increased and made it way worse the Great Depression. Now I'm going to talk about people who made a fortune in this period of time against all odds. Although not very popular, Michael J. Cullen changed Americans' life forever by creating the modern supermarket. A former executive at Kroger Grocery Bakery and Company, Cullen struck out on his own in 1930 after higher-ups rejected his idea for more suburban, larger, self-service food markets with room for automobile parking and allowances for newfangled home refrigeration. Within 2 years, Cullen stores, known as King Cullen Grocery, were doing more than $6 million in revenue. His motto, pile it high, sell it cheap. In second place, we have Charles Darrow. Finding himself unemployed after the crash of 29, Darrow spent a few years creating a little parlor game that eventually came to be known as Monopoly. Within a few years of registering the patent, Parker Brothers were selling 20,000 units a year, and Darrow became the world's first millionaire game designer. Lastly, we have Gene Autry. The Great Depression was his golden era. Rising from a local radio to a hit machine throughout that decade, Autry appeared in over 40 movies, becoming the top Western draw at the box office. The Singing Cowboy not only created a TV and radio broadcast, but also bought the California Angels. Now, you've probably realized that in order for these men to make their fortune during the Great Depression, they had to rely themselves in businesses that are independent of the economical status of their country, such as entertainment and the food industry. And that is because no matter what, those two types of businesses will always be needed and used by people, no matter what. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you've learned something new today about the Great Depression and who and how people made money during it.